All right, good evening all. It has just gone 6 o'clock, so we will make a start. I should start by introducing myself. I'm Brendan McGrath, the CEO at the Rural City of Wangaratta. Tonight, on a fairly busy agenda, we have the election of Mayor and Deputy Mayor. And at the meeting where that occurs, the Mayor vacates the chair at the beginning of that meeting, hence why I'm chairing the first part of the meeting through until the Mayor is elected, and at that point in time I'll hand back over to the newly elected Mayor to chair the rest of the meeting. I should start by just letting people know that in accordance with our governance rules, this meeting is being recorded to improve access to the meeting for our community. The recording will be published and will be retained by Council in accordance with its legal obligations. And as a visitor to the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. If I could ask Councillor Winters to do an acknowledgement to country, please.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which the rural City of Wangaratta communities reside. We pay our respect to the elders past, present and emerging, and celebrate and respect their continuing cultures. We are committed to walking beside all traditional owners as we move toward reconciliation.
Thank you, Councillor Winters. And Councillor Bussell, would you like to do the prayer?
Thank you. Almighty God, we humbly ask Thee to bless and guide this council in its deliberations, so we may truly preserve the welfare of the people whom we serve. Amen.
Thanks, Councillor Bussell. So everybody is present. There are no absences. There are no apologies or requests for leave of absence that I'm aware of. We do not have a citizenship ceremony. We do have the minutes from the scheduled meeting of 28th of October. Can I have someone to move and second that they are correct? Dave, Councillor Fuller and Councillor Benton. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. They're carried. Do we have any conflicts of interest on any of tonight's items? I might just declare that I have an interest in item 13.9 as it relates to the CEO employment policy. So I have at least a perceived interest in that. I haven't been involved in preparing that and I won't be voting on the item, so I don't need to leave the chambers, but I will just note that I have an interest in that.
Brendan, I'll also note conflict of interest for the same item as the officer presenting that report that affects my line manager.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, moving on to item 9, which is our reception of petitions. We do have a petition in the agenda tonight that relates to free parking in Wangaratta. And we have the lead petitioner here tonight. I see Matt, welcome. So we've got a petition containing some 2,212 signatures, which is attached to our agenda. And that is requesting that Council reassess the parking within the Wangaratta CBD and revert to a free timed parking arrangement. Just to note, in accordance with our governance rules, the recommendation tonight is that the petition regarding parking in the Central Business District be received and that the petition be referred to the Chief Executive Officer for a report about the request within the petition, and that report be considered at a future meeting, and it is our intent to bring that report back to the next meeting in December. Any questions about that? No? Can I have someone move that recommendation?
I'll move it.
I think Councillor Fitzpatrick beat you by a split second. Someone to second it? Thank you, Tanya. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. We don't have any deputations. We do have one councillor report, I think, from Councillor Grant. Would you like to provide that now?
Microphone on, is about the 16 days of activism, which begins today. 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is a global campaign aimed at preventing violence against women by changing the social conditions that enable it. It begins today, International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and ends 10 December on International Human Rights Day, with International Day of People with Disabilities, the 3rd of December, also falling in this period. Strategies to prevent violence must focus on the factors associated with people using violence. Who is perpetrating the violence, and what are the structures and norms and practices that drive the use of violence? There are distinct gendered dynamics to violence in Australia, and evidence indicates men are more likely to use extreme forms of violence that result in serious injury or death. Unfortunately, research indicates men commit homicides at five times the rate of women, and that 95% of men and 94% of women who experience violence did so at the hands of a man. Family and domestic and sexual violence is a major national health and welfare issue, overwhelmingly impacting women and children. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, by age of 15, 1 in 6 women have experienced physical and sexual violence by a cohabiting partner, and 1 in 5 women have experienced sexual violence. This year alone, 61 Australian women and 23 Australian children have tragically lost their lives to violence. So, why am I giving this report? This is the rural city of Wangaratta's overview. The rural city of Wangaratta is facing escalating challenges with increasing family violence incidents. Our family violence rate has been consistently higher than both the Hume region and the state average for the past 5 years. In 2024, there were 647 reported family violence incidents in the rural city of Wangaratta, an increase of 2.5% from the previous year. Of utmost concern, during 2023 to 2024, children were present as victims or witnesses in almost half of all family violence incidents within our municipality. The presence of children in family violence incidents is deeply concerning, as an ongoing exposure to family violence is known to negatively impact child development, with family violence also the leading cause of homelessness with Australian children. Sadly, childhood exposure to violence also increases the risk of that child going on to become a person that uses violence, perpetuating the cycle of abuse. Our region is supported by dedicated specialist services, including organisations such as the Orange Door, the Centre Against Violence, VACA, Upper Murray Family Care and Victoria Police, whose workers respond tirelessly to support those impacted by violence. Their work is harrowing and vital, but responding to violence is not enough. Ending family violence takes a collective effort to address the underlying factors that give rise to gendered and family violence in our community. One of the features of the 16 Days of Activism calendar in the rural city will be held tomorrow, and we'll have the former world tennis champion and author and activist, Yelena Dokic, will share her story of strength and resilience at the Wangaratta Performing Arts Centre. Her story reminds us of the role we can play as bystanders in preventing violence and supporting those who are impacted. On the 1st and 3rd of December, the Centre Against Violence, supported by the rural city of Wangaratta, have also invited everyone to stand together for a stronger, safer community by participating in free community events. These events aim to upskill our community to, firstly, understand why noticing and responding matters. Secondly, recognise early signs of harm. Thirdly, practice safe and respectful ways to call out or call in behaviour. And last of all, to support others and strengthen community safety. I encourage everyone to attend, because violence against women and girls is preventable if we change the culture that allows it to happen. Together we can create a culture where respect is the norm, equality is expected, and violence has no place. Let us stand united, not only for 16 days, but for every day, until every woman and child is safe and every community is free from fear.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Can we get a mover and a seconder for a motion to receive that report and include it in the minutes? Councillor Fuller and Councillor Bussell, I think. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. So moving on to section 13, and we'll start with item 13.1, which is the determination of the term of mayor. Over to Sarah Brindley.
Thank you. So this first item, in accordance with the Local Government Act, requires, before the election of the mayor, that councillors first determine the term of the mayor and whether that is a 1 or a 2-year term. And I'll keep it as simple as that, and the recommendation is on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Can I have someone to move a motion? Are you moving a 1 or 2 year term? 1 year term. Thanks, Councillor Bustle. Someone to second that? Councillor Grant. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. Director Brindley, item 13.2, the election of the mayor for a 1 year term.
Thank you. So this next report moves on to exactly that, the election of the mayor. Councillors are required to elect a mayor as just determined for a 1 year term. And the process is prescribed for councillors in the paper and in council's governance rules. And I will hand back to you to run that election process. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any nominations for mayor? Councillor Bustle.
I will nominate Councillor Irene Grant.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Are you happy to accept that nomination? Thank you. Do we have any further nominations? Councillor Winters.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Councillor Dave Fuller.
Thank you. Councillor Fuller, are you happy to accept that nomination? Do we have any further nominations for mayor? No. Okay, so I'm going to put those to the vote by a show of hands in support of each candidate in the order I've received those. So I'll start with a show of hands for those who support Councillor Grant, please. So we have 5. You only need 4 votes to carry the vote for this particular item. So given that, I will declare Councillor Grant confirmed as mayor for the coming 12-month term and congratulate her and invite her to assume the chair.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Before we proceed to the next item, I would like to speak to my appointment. Being the mayor in a municipality like the rural city of Wangaratta is challenging and a rewarding role. And as we move into a year of significant change, it is important that we keep a strong focus on good governance and the work of local government. For me, the fundamentals of local government are what drive me forward. What is our core business? Things like roads, rates, rubbish, our general amenity, our sporting fields, the services that we provide through WISAC, the PAC and the library. We must, as a council, keep our eye on what is best for the whole community and what we can actually afford and sustain. The role of mayor requires significant management and decision-making skills and experience, the ability to lead a diverse group of people and direct competing priorities, advocate and focus on what are the best and the most affordable outcomes for the community as a whole. This, as well, oversee the decision-making in a balanced and orderly manner. Of course, none of this is possible without the support and assistance of a cohesive and committed council. With the challenge of appointing a new CEO, and thank you to Brendan for all the work he's done, as well as balancing the everyday challenges of local government, the agenda of mayor and councillors this year will be very full and busy. I'm honoured to be given this task and will fulfil the role to the best of my ability. I thank the councillors for their support, and I would also like to acknowledge the strong support and positive feedback I've received from the community and, of course, my family and friends. Thank you. So we move now to item number 13.3, which is the establishment of the Office of Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. So this item is for councillors to consider whether they wish to continue the office of Deputy Mayor. That is an optional position to create, but it is recommended that the role of Deputy Mayor is established, meaning that if the Mayor is ever unavailable, there is someone clearly appointed who can step into that role for the purposes of efficiency and continuation of the council. So the recommendation is that council establishes the office of Deputy Mayor, and again that would match the term of the Mayor for a one-year term. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brindley. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to move? Councillor Bussell? Someone to second? Councillor Fuller? Councillors recommended by Councillor Bussell and then seconded by Councillor Fuller. We all in agreement for the one-year term? Thank you, councillors. We now move to 13.4, which is the election of the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. So handing straight back to you to run that election process following the same process as was just used for the appointment of the Mayor.
So, councillors, we need to have nominations for the Deputy Mayor, and I'd like to nominate, if I may, Councillor Benton for the role of Deputy Mayor. Do we have, would you accept that, Councillor Benton? Yes. Do we have another, Councillor Winters?
Thank you. I would again like to nominate Councillor Dave Fuller.
Thank you. Councillor Fuller, do you accept that? Very good. Councillors, we have a nomination. I nominated Councillor Benton as Deputy. Those in favour of Councillor Benton? As there are 5, and Councillor Benton, by virtue of majority, has been elected Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Benton. Councillor Benton, would you like to speak to your appointment?
Thanks, Mayor. It's probably you've said nearly all what I'd like to say in relationship to taking on the role. Firstly, thanks to my colleagues for their support going forward. Yes, we have probably a challenging year in some ways, but a year that we could possibly make sure that there's some great developments. And I think that taking on the role in a challenging year and is, and I don't say that because Brendan is leaving, but it is about Brendan leaving because Brendan's been here for 12 years, and to put a new CEO down, and I think I've done a couple of those in my lifetime on councils, and it does take a little bit of stability because there is a lot of changes that do happen and personalities, and I think the experience has got to be there to handle that going forward. So I just reiterate a lot what the Mayor has said, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Yeah, thanks to the audience for their applause. Now we move to 13.5, which is the appointment of 2 councillors to the Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you. So Council has an established Audit and Risk Committee in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act that meets on a regular basis. The current charter requires that the committee includes 2 councillor members appointed by council to serve a one-year term each. And so the recommendation is that council, in accordance with the charter, nominates and appoints 2 councillors to join the committee for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brindley. Now, we've got the recommendation. I understand that Councillor Winters would like to make an addition to the recommendation and to make it a motion.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move the motion with an addition that the following councillors to the members of the Audit and Risk Committee for a one-year term, that's Mayor Irene Grant and Deputy Mayor Councillor Harvey Benton. And in addition to that point, so point number 2, direct officers to amend the Audit and Risk Committee Charter, so section 13.1, to allow up to 3 councillor members, and dot point number 3, to appoint Councillor Alison Winters as the 3rd member of the Audit and Risk Committee.
Okay, councillors, we've got a recommendation put forward by Councillor Winters. Would someone like to second that? Councillor Fuller? Councillors, would anyone like to speak to the recommendation?
Oh, as a member of the Audit and Risk Committee over the last 12 months, I think it's open to all councillors to go there, but Councillor Winters has expressed a keen interest in that, and it is a committee that does have a little bit of sort of mandatory statutory requirements in relationship to the mayor and the deputy mayor being there as well, and it's a good thing that Councillor Winters is taking on the role to come and join the committee and to be a voting member on the committee as directed by the motion. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
And I admire her determination and certainly welcome her to the committee. So, councillors, we do have to vote on this. So we've got the recommendation put forward by Councillor Winters, seconded by Councillor Fuller. Are we all in favour? Thank you, councillors. We now move to 13.6, which is the councillor appointments to existing portfolios and committees.
Thank you. So each councillor has representation across one or several portfolio and community advisory committees and other bodies in which council is represented through the councillors, and that's an important part of councillor roles. For the main part, it also indicates to the community who might be the primary person to reach out to if you have a particular inquiry in a certain area of council services. So this report is also presented to appoint councillors to the portfolios, committees and other bodies as set out in the attachment to the report, subject to any further adjustments councillors might like to make. Thank you.
Councillors, we've got a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move or move a motion? Councillor Winters.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, can I, in addition to that motion, add the following? So in addition to the appointments in the attachment to the report, that Councillor Ash Fitzpatrick is allocated to the Sports and Rec portfolio and the Sports and Rec Council Advisory Committee,
Yes.
and that Councillor Tanya Maxwell is allocated to the Youth Council Council Advisory Committee.
Okay. Well, with those additions to the attachments, councillors, Councillor Winters has put forward. Would someone like to second? Councillor Maxwell. So, noting the additions to the attachments, councillors, are we in favour? Thank you. That's been passed. We now move to the item 13.7, which is the Q1 forecast review.
Thank you. So following the conclusion of each quarter in the financial year, council reports to the public on its financial performance and with, if required, a revised forecast budget for the remainder of the year. The recommendation is that council approves the 2025-26 Q1 forecast review, which includes a decrease to the projected full-year accounting surplus of 10.37 million to 3.74 million, the decrease in capital works expenditure by 3.28 million to 22.66 million, and the environmental upgrade agreement quarterly statement. I will add, obviously, there's some reductions there to the outlook. The key income reductions are mostly about timing or non-monetary items. So specifically, the operating financial assistance grant that council receives every year, with a nearly 5 million payment that was made early and so recognised in the prior financial year. So the cash has been received. And an unsuccessful capital grant application for bridge renewals of 2.76 million, which also has the commensurate reduction in the capital works programme, so that's a net neutral movement. So yes, we'll pass to councillors to approve the Q1 forecast review. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to move? Councillor Fuller. Councillor Maxwell. Councillor Fuller, would you like to speak to? No? Councillor Maxwell, would you like to speak? Well, it's straightforward. You know, obviously, our budget is a very important part of what we do, and the need to be diligent in terms of how we discharge our budget is most important. So if no one wants to speak, Councillor Benton? No?
Yes, I'd like to just reinforce what the Director has just said in relationship to the financial grants that we receive. And it did come forward, and when you look at the face value of the figures up there, it does look that there is a disparity in our budgeting figures. But those monies have come forward, and that's something out of our control, and it's fed into our budget, and timing is imperative. There is other, unless you read the detail in the report, there is other there to be repaid back to us from other agencies in going through the report. So I just urge you, if there's any doubts that you have, look at those figures on face value, read the details.
Thanks, Councillor Benton. So Councillor Fuller's moved and Councillor Maxwell has second. Councillors, are we in favour of approving? Thank you. We move to item 13.8, which is the CEO employment and remuneration policy. So where is that? Well, I've got 13.8 in front of me, and what are we looking at?
So I think what's happened is the whistleblower policy has been moved into section 14. So
Right, okay, well,
we're on the right item, and 13.8 would be the right number.
so will I refer to the whistleblower policy as 13.8?
No.
No?
The employment and remuneration policy, as you just introduced,
Yes.
is your next item. So
Right, okay. So I was right. Okay, good. Okay, Director Brindley.
Thank you. So I will just state again that I have declared a conflict of interest in relation to this item, which relates, it's the CEO employment and remuneration policy, so relating to my line manager. However, as the only appropriate person sitting around the table to present this report, that's acceptable.
Yes.
And can I also just repeat what I said earlier, that given that the policy relates to the CEO's role, I'll declare an interest in that as well.
Yep.
Thank you. So this policy has been reviewed as part of its scheduled review cycle, with a few updates made, which include some increased information on the process and timeframes to be followed for contract renewal, recruitment or appointment, that CEO remuneration will be considered annually, that assistance is available to councillors for the annual CEO review cycle, and requirements to maintain integrity and confidentiality of the process. So the report is presented to council to seek formal adoption of that CEO employment and remuneration policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, we've got a recommendation. Would someone like to move? Councillor Fuller? Someone to second? Councillor Fitzpatrick? Councillor Fuller, would you like to speak? Councillor Fitzpatrick? No. It's, well, look, to say that the adoption and the approval of the CEO employment and remuneration policy is essential for ensuring the Council's ongoing compliance with legislative requirements, maintaining robust and transparent governance standards and supporting effective leadership. So it's at the heart of our relationship with the CEO. So, councillors, we've moved by Councillor Fuller and seconded by Councillor Fitzpatrick. Would anyone like to speak before I go to the vote? No? Those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. We then move to, now is it 14.1? Yes. The trade panel.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. This report is presented to Council to award contract 18791 Trade Services Panel. Council's existing panel for trade services has expired. Council's procurement policy sets out the process for appointing a panel of suppliers following public tender. Panel of suppliers will be required to enter into a contract with Council and must supply at a schedule of rates as per the contract. Contract will be for a period of 3 years. There are 50 contractors proposed to be appointed across a range of services. The contractors will be notified of the outcome within the next 2 weeks. And the recommendation is that Council awards the contract.
Councillors, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to move? Councillor Fuller. Someone to second? Councillor Benton. Councillor Fuller, do you want to speak? No? Councillor Benton?
No, other than just...
No, now, we don't actually reveal any part of this now?
No, there's 50 contractors there. We thought
Yeah.
that might take a little bit of time, so we will notify everyone within the next couple of weeks via email.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, so moved by Councillor Fuller, then Councillor Benton to second. Are we all in favour? Thank you. Now we move to the aged care whistleblower policy, which is 14.2.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Grant. This report is presented to Council to adopt the aged care whistleblower policy. This policy is required due to the recent changes imposed by the aged care reforms. This policy, the aged care reforms, has now commenced, introducing significant reforms to create the rights-based, person-centred aged care system that prioritise safety, transparency and accountability. As part of these reforms, the Support at Home program began on the 1st of November and requires Council to deliver aged care services and meet new compliance standards. Part of these compliance standards is having a standalone aged care whistleblower policy. This policy does not require community consultation as it is aligned with an internal council service, but as councillors are responsible persons under the Act, it needs to be adopted by Council. The recommendation is that Council adopts the aged care whistleblower policy as written.
Thank you, Director Goonan. It's normal practice for during the agenda to ask the audience if they have a particular question to an item, and we've been sort of racing through the agenda doing some of the basic stuff, and I invite anyone from the audience if they have a question to this particular policy. If you could come forward, state your name. We know who you are, but please state your name and ask the question, please.
Anne Dunstan, Tarrawinji. Does this whistleblower policy just relate to the services provided by the rural city of Wangaratta, or is it all aged care services?
It is to the services that are provided by the rural city.
Yeah, so if it's an external service, it's not related to that.
Correct.
It would have to go through a different
Exactly
service.
right.
Yep.
They will have their own separate whistleblower policies. They must.
Yep, okay,
Yep.
perfect. Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks for the question, Anne. So, councillors, we have a recommendation. Councillor Fitzpatrick, someone to second? Councillor Maxwell. Councillor Fitzpatrick, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to take the time to say thank you to Marcus's team who have been heavily working in this space. It's changing all the time, and the staff have done a fantastic job in keeping us in the loop, informed, and letting us know what it means in our aged care services. So I just want to take the time to thank them for their commitment and informing us. So thank you.
Councillor Maxwell, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would also like to pass on my gratitude and congratulations for the power of work under Director Goonan and his team, that these reforms have been overwhelming, to say the least, and I know that they have had to do an enormous amount of work. I'd also like to just touch on the fact that we now have an aged care whistleblower policy. I hope that that will certainly lead us to any improved care, particularly person-centred care, that can be done so that we can reduce throughout the community, by word of mouth, any offences that are put upon our elderly. This is their time. They've paid their rates all their lives, and I think that it's so incredibly important for us after them in these latter years of their life.
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? So we've got a recommendation moved by Councillor Fitzpatrick, seconded by Councillor Maxwell. Are we all in favour, councillors? Thank you. We now move to item number 15.1, which is the Domestic Animal Management Plan 2025 to 2029.
Thank you. Council has a responsibility under the Domestic Animals Act to prepare a domestic animal management plan every 4 years. A draft plan was prepared, and at the September council meeting, council decided that we wanted to invite community feedback on that draft plan. That since occurred, and we received 18 submissions in response. The submissions and the officers' responses to each are summarised in the table attached to the report, and amended plan is now presented to council for adoption.
Thank you, Director Swart. Now, is there a question from the audience on this particular item? No? I beg your pardon? Would you perhaps like to just clarify that?
Can I just clarify, is that because you couldn't hear me clearly or you didn't understand what I was presenting? Yeah. Put simply, we have to prepare a domestic animal management plan under the Domestic Animal Act, and we have to do that every 4 years. We've gone through a process of doing a draft plan and putting that out to the community for their feedback. We've received some feedback, and today we are presenting a changed plan to the council for final approval.
Okay, so councillors, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to move? Councillor Maxwell? Someone to second? Councillor Fitzpatrick? Councillor Maxwell, would you like to speak? No? Councillor Fitzpatrick, would you like to speak? So councillors, we have a recommendation put forward by, or a motion put forward by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Fitzpatrick. Are we all in agreement? Thank you. That's been moved. So we move to item number 15.2, which is planning application number 25/101 123 Phillipson Street, Wangaratta, use of land for a restaurant.
Thank you. The planning permit application is for the use of the land at 123 Phillipson Street, Wangaratta for food and drink premises and also the reduction of car parking. The application was advertised as required by the Planning and Environment Act, and 11 objections were received. The matters raised by the objectors, the application and referral responses have been considered against the requirements of the Wangaratta planning scheme, and officers' assessment is attached to the agenda. Based on this assessment, it is recommended that the application be supported subject to the conditions in the agenda.
Thank you, Director Swart. And it's important to note that council met with both the applicant and the objectors, or some of the objectors, and consulted with them with regard to this particular application. So, councillors, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to move? Councillor Fitzpatrick. Someone to second? Councillor Maxwell. Councillor Fitzpatrick, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to say thank you to both parties for coming in and meeting with us. I think it's a great opportunity to convey what's actually going on instead of making assumptions, and also just getting some clarification. I think this will be new and exciting for the area, and I look forward to everyone working together. So that's all I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Maxwell? No, I think Councillor Fitzpatrick's correct. It was a good opportunity to meet with the applicant and the objectors to, sort out some of the issues that were of concern. And I think, what we have the opportunity now is, perhaps to, move forward. And so you've moved the recommendation, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Maxwell to second. Are we all in favour? Thank you. It's been carried. We now move to item number... Well, question time. Goodness gracious, that's come up quickly. Okay, public question time. Our favourite time of the night. So we have the first question is from Karen Deans, and I'll refer that to Director Goonan.
Thank you, Mayor. Would you like me to read the question?
Possibly it would be a good
Yep,
idea.
No worries. Question from Karen Deans. Why do Tarrawingi residents not have a green waste wheelie bin service? How can the request for residents to obtain this service be raised and actioned by council as soon as possible? Numerous residents have already requested green waste bins by completing council's application form. As we were advised, this service is available for Tarrawingi residents. Upon submitting the completed form, we have been advised that this service is not available at this time for Tarrawingi residents. Residents in Tarrawingi have been requesting this service for approximately 5 years or more. On 2 occasions when the request was made, we were told it would be considered in council's next 4-year financial plan. As a resident of Tarrawingi for 10 years, I've asked about this service and discussed it with several council staff who have told me it would be actioned in the future. What time frame does council mean when they refer to the future? The response. Karen, thank you for your question and also your time on the phone last week. At the council meeting in May this year, it was resolved to defer the expansion of the existing weekly collection of curbside green FOGO bins to the following township areas, including Tarrawingi. This decision was made until the requirements of the rollout are released by the state and the impact and benefit can be fully determined. The requirements are due for release now and are expected at the latest by early 2026. Once we understand the requirements, impact and benefit, officers will prepare a report for council.
Thank you, Director Goonan. The second question comes from Amanda Hogan, who's submitted the following question, which I will actually read out, and I'll ask Director Swart to provide a response. The 2021 to 2025 Council Plan for the Rural City of Wangaratta committed to developing a reconciliation action plan in partnership with our Indigenous community. That council plan concluded on 30 June 2025, and while 95% of its actions were completed, the development of the RAP remains listed as ongoing. There is growing concern amongst many community members that our rural city of Wangaratta councillors may no longer be committed to the development and adoption of a RAP to deliver a comprehensive strategy for building genuine partnerships with our First Nations communities. Importantly, our councillors may be unaware of the strong grassroots support for a reconciliation action plan within the rural city of Wangaratta. As a community representative, I would like to ask all councillors 2 questions. What specific and demonstrable actions will council take to show its commitment to urgently progress, then endorse and adopt a reconciliation action plan in partnership with our local Indigenous community as a high priority item in the 2025 to 2029 council plan? We acknowledge and respect council's due process, but at the same time, can you please indicate the definitive timeline you are prepared to commit to in order to achieve a reconciliation action plan for the rural city of Wangaratta and our local citizens? And the response is?
Yes, thank you for that question. The response is that council will be considering the draft reconciliation action plan at the December council meeting.
And perhaps just to add to that, that the reconciliation action plan in partnership with our local Indigenous community was not a high priority item on the 2025 to 2029 council plan, but we are working on our reconciliation action plan. So question number 3 is from Adrian Fox, and he's submitted the following question. Please consider forming a separate committee to address the current parking issue. Forming a separate committee would move a very complex and unpopular decision away from yourselves. You would be acknowledging the complexity of the situation and dissolving yourselves of the responsibility to find a solution. You have a huge community pushback against your current parking policy. You have a 2,000-odd signed petition requesting free parking. You have several thousand people speaking publicly against the parking system and nearly 30 reasons listed publicly against the parking policy. Several tourists have written to you complaining about a parking system which did not welcome them into our town, and in my view, you have done very little to address that situation. Several CBD businesses have had meetings with council to point out the issues. Given all of the above, you and your councillors continue to promote the parking policy by producing a promotional video, which in my view has completely ignored the issues. The complexity of the situation is such that council meetings are really not the place for this issue to continually play out. Please consider forming a separate committee to address the parking situation. The committee would include both council and community representatives. Thank you. And our response to Mr Fox is that council has received significant community feedback since our decision in February to move the Easy Park app as the primary method for payment. We also continue to monitor the use of the system and identify improvements where necessary. Some improvements have already been implemented, including better signage, updating available information about parking and changes to the voucher system that has been implemented for those who don't use the app. Council will continue to consider feedback received and further changes to the system. And I will emphasise this, it is not Council's intention to form a separate committee to consider this matter, as the complex issue of parking around Wangaratta is the responsibility of Council, and Council would have to sign off on any committee decision if that was to be made. So that's the answer to Mr Fox. And then there's question number 4, which is from Cassandra Pollock. And she asks, the state government this month launched a new $9.5 million fund to support councils increasing their urban tree canopy. Will Wangaratta Council be making the most of this opportunity and applying for a grant to continue expanding our tree canopy? Director Goonan.
Thank you for your question, Cassandra. I believe you are referring to the 500,000 More Trees for Melbourne initiative, which includes new protections for tree canopy and allocates $9.5 million to plant 500,000 more trees across Melbourne. This program is actually primarily targeted at metropolitan councils with below average tree canopy cover and high heat vulnerability. Unfortunately, the program is focused in metro areas, and as such, the rural city of Wangaratta is not included.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Now, I'll ask for questions from the audience, but remind the audience that you are limited to 2 questions, and they be questions, not an opportunity to give a bit of a dissertation. So if we can have anyone who has a question for council come forward, please state your name. Yep.
Hello, my name's Philip Bright. I'm a disabled veteran. Mayor and the councillors. I have just 2 questions, like I've been told I'm allowed to ask.
Yep.
With regards to the Wangaratta, with regards to the policies of the Wangaratta Sports and Aquatic Centre, these questions are for. I would like to put this question to the Rural City of Wangaratta Council about the policies of the Wangaratta Sports and Aquatic Centre. Has the Charter of the Human Rights being considered, and the Disability Act of 2006, and the Mental Health Act of 2022, and the Equal Opportunity Act of 2010. That's my first question.
Okay, and I'll ask Director Brindley to provide you with a response.
Thank you for your question. Can I just confirm that's around the use of mobile phones in the pool hall, that the context
No,
of
I'm
your
talking about
question?
your policies, all of them.
All policies?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Not just the mobile phone,
yeah,
all policies.
okay, yeah. As a general rule, all our policies do consider broader needs such as legislative requirements, the Gender Equity Act, Human Rights Charter in their development. So that is something we would undertake as part of our policy development, yes.
Okay.
Your next question.
Next question is, on the 20th of October 2023, the Australian Government declared that COVID-19 pandemic was over, and COVID-19 is now managed like any other common communicable disease. Why do you have a policy as conditions of entry, enter to the centre is subject to prevailing COVID requirements? That's my second question.
I think that would have just been written into the policy at the time when those requirements were relevant. There aren't requirements that are relevant to the entry of the WSAC currently, so there's no particular control in place around those at the current time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Lacking.
Hamish? State your name, please.
Good evening, everybody, again. My first question is, how are you taking into the upcoming weather that's coming with millimetres of rain due on the weekend in your decision in the closed business? And my second question is, are you aware of the significance of our festival to First Nations people and how we represent an opportunity for many, many Aboriginal and First Nation bands, and that they really are looking forward to coming in? So the question is, are you aware of how venerated our festival is for venerated Aboriginal musicians?
Thank you. Director Swart.
I can respond that, you know, we will be taking into consider all aspects relevant to that application before that decision is made. I can't say that I'm particularly aware of the second part there. I'm aware that your festival has included many different artists, including Aboriginal artists, but I'm not aware of any more detail around that.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, it's on, and if you wouldn't mind stating your name.
My name's Greg Wheeler from Laceby. My question relates to Meadow Creek Solar Farm, in particular the planning application that's recently been endorsed by the state government. The question relates particularly to my assumption in that whole document there's a huge impost on council resources with all the management plans, all the technical stuff that's going to be coming down the pipeline in the future. Huge workload, I'm assuming. So given that, and obviously the ongoing, I guess, tension or effect on the community, I think would be dwarfed by two events. Either one, that the development is then no longer viable and the developers disappear, or eventually there'll be an end of life. And so my question relates specifically to, is there a pursuit for a financial guarantee for those two instances on this development? And I ask that question because of all the documentation I've read and of all the plans and all the commitments that are on the table to be done, nothing is mentioned about a financial guarantee, particularly for end of life or default of the development. I guess my question can also apply to any other future developments as well. Where do we get the addition or the incorporation of a financial guarantee on that performance? That's my question.
Well, I think you're correct, but I'll direct Director Swart to provide you with a response.
Yes, thank you for that question. Council formally objected to that application based on a decision made in this chamber. That objection was sent to state government along with hundreds of other objections from the community. As part of that objection, we raised the concern of the impact on our resources if the application was to be successful, because we realised that council would become responsible for parts of that planning permit and the conditions on that planning permit. State government has decided to approve that application. We also, at the time when we objected, said if you do approve this, here's a list of conditions that we think you should include in the permit to try and help us with some of that. And state government hasn't included all of that on the permit. So it is a challenge for us, and we will continue to engage with state government to let them know that we are concerned about that and ask for assistance in that space.
I understand that from a workload and an impost on the council, but in terms of specifically pursuing a financial guarantee on the performance of those developments, because from my experience, if they default and end of life, we're not talking hundreds of thousands, we're talking many tens of millions of dollars in order to demolish, remediate and reinstate that facility post-use. And so it's such a humongous number, you can do your own math, that we as a community would end up wearing it, I suspect. So that was my question, is the financial guarantee aspect, and how can we inject that into all of the negotiations and activities going forward to support the community, really?
Yeah, typically with that type of work, if we were the decision maker, we would include a condition on the planning permit relating to decommissioning to make sure that, you know, that's spelled out very clearly in the permit conditions that that is a requirement at the end of life. In this instance, we didn't issue the permit, and those types of conditions didn't make it onto the permit in that form. That, in my mind, is the only way to guarantee what you are saying, is to make sure that it's on that permit, and it is not.
So there's no opportunity going forward?
And I think that the difficulty too, Greg, it needs to be understood that we don't have appeal rights in this process. So
Understood.
normally, if there was a planning application that, you know, council opposed and you know, the state government, you know, gave the thumbs up, we would have the opportunity of going back and saying that we have concerns in a number of areas, and this hasn't happened.
I understand. I appreciate your response, but I'm just thinking the impost on the council.
Yep.
And part of that is say, well, you want all this stuff from us, well, maybe we want something from you as well, called a financial guarantee.
Yep.
Just a thought.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillors, do we have, or the audience, do we have anyone else wanting to direct a question? Because we now need to go into camera, and so I need a motion to close this meeting. Oh, who was that? Oh, I beg your pardon. Well, come forward and ask your question. State your name, please.
Sure. Karen Deans.
Oh, you actually asked a question that we responded to before, Karen.
Yes.
Yes.
I've just got a follow-up question, if that's okay.
That's fine.
2 parts. Within 2 hours, I've been able to get 8% of your residents at Tarrawingi that are on the wheelie bin or ratepayers as such to sign a petition to get our green bins that we've been requesting for some significant time. I'm reading through tonight's agenda, and it does specifically say that we care for our community, especially our elderly or disabled, etc., and that they should be cared for in just the same way as everyone else within the community. I think the smaller communities seem to be left to the side at times. And considering that this matter has been raised so many times with council, I think most residents are quite upset, as I've been told personally
Yes.
last night and tonight, that considering a decision was made in May on the basis of saving Tarrawingi residents $32 per annum to get the purple wheelie bins first, the glass ones. The statistics that were used based on that decision that was presented to council were used on recycle statistics from 2022.
Just to remind you that the purple bins too, those bins were provided through a grant opportunity through government. So, you know, we were able to access those bins in a way that we normally wouldn't have been able to. And I don't accept that, you know, we ignore the people of Tarrawingi. That's not true. You know, some of the decisions that we make have to be made according to what's in the budget and what is the highest priority. And while we'd like to do all those things that you ask, it's not always possible.
So my second part of that question would then be, considering that the council does have the budget, that the vision and scope is quite clear for council, from council's perspective of their communities, that the green wheelie bins have been available as a resident of Wangaratta when I lived in town for over 10 years, and yet elderly residents well over their 80s and 90s do not have that facility available to them out of town.
No.
And they've been ratepayers for 40, 50 years in Wangaratta.
And that was the decision that council had to make. We couldn't spread the resource to every place across the municipality. And as Director Gooden said, you know, we're now waiting for some of the FOGO regulations to work through the system in order to guide us in how we move forward.
I suppose, I don't think...
Oh, look, I can take the question on
Yeah,
notice.
sure.
We're having a conversation, so I know that you're not satisfied with the answers that we've given, but you know, we can continue this conversation after the meeting if you like.
Thank you. That'd
Thank
be
you.
lovely.
So, councillors, we need a motion to close this particular meeting and go into camera.
Thank you, Chair. Bear with me, it's extensive. Council resolves to close the meeting to members of the public in accordance with Division 3(1) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the following items: Wangaratta Performing Arts Centre, Convention Centre, Cafe and Catering Service Agreement, confidential under the Local Government Act as it contains information relating to council business information, being information that would prejudice the council's position in commercial negotiations if prematurely released. Consideration of event plans, confidential under the Local Government Act as it contains information relating to legal privilege information and private commercial information. Employment matter, confidential in nature under the Local Government Act as it contains information relating to personal information. Moved.
Someone to second? We don't need a second, or we do? Yes. We'll move. Council? Okay. Now we just need to reopen our ordinary meeting. Wait, were the directors coming? No, no. They're just, there they are.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move a motion to reopen the proceedings to close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone to second? Are we all in favour, councillors? This is the close of the meeting and I thank everyone for their attendance.